Anxiety disorders, crippling panic attacks, agoraphobia, the concept of fear extinguishing. What do I mean by that? This is something that I often use in regards to, I guess, showing people that recovery is possible and simplifying recovery where they can realize, where they can, almost, there is a time and a place for neuroscience and science and all that stuff. Yes, of course, but sometimes there's no need for that. Sometimes it's just you want to break it down for people that they realize that, okay, if I apply these steps and stop engaging in this and stop engaging in that, I can overcome this. So fear extinguishing is a perfect example of that. So I'll get into it because I made a video about this and it was quite long. It was two parts. So I'm going to get into it straight away. Fear extinguishing. What do I mean? What does that mean in regards to an anxiety disorder? So fear extinguishing is, I mean, you can pretty much, fear extinguishing, you get a fire extinguisher. What does a fire extinguisher do? Puts out a fire. So what does fear extinguishing do? What does fear extinguishing do? It puts out fears, okay? But the fear that we're dealing with is not just the spider, if someone's afraid of a spider or a lift, it's fear of everything, okay? So we're dealing with a very big fire, okay? So if you're someone that has this for many years, you built up this big raging fire, okay? And you think that's detrimental to your health, So naturally, as a human being, what do? Avoid. And you can justify that so much, okay? But after many years dealing with this, with the same thoughts and the same symptoms, and there has to come a time in your life where you're ready to step foot into that fire or face it head on, and you will be. The concept of fear extinguishing is that you have this fire extinguisher in your hand, okay, and you want to put out the fire, but the fire extinguisher can only shoot, let's say, a meter long, okay. That's 1 meter, okay, and the fire is 10 meters away. So if you're standing 9 meters away from the fire and you're shooting the fire extinguisher at it, it's not even reaching the fire. So how are you going to put it out? You have to be brave enough to step foot into that fire, not exactly into it, but close enough, and it will be hot and you'll be sweating and it won't feel nice. But you have to get close enough to that fire to then spray the fire extinguisher on it, that then you can slowly start putting it out. And because this fire has built up over years, the fire being the anxiety disorder, one fire extinguisher ain't going to do that. You got to go back the next day, refill, recharge, and go again. You got to go back, refill, recharge, and go again. And again, and again. Over time, that fire obviously will become smaller. Okay? But you have to keep consistent. You have to be self-disciplined, and most important, you have to be brave. Okay? You have to be brave enough. Too often, all you've been doing is you think you're doing everything right, but you're not. Just because you have the tools, which is the right tool is the fire extinguisher. Just because you have the fire extinguisher in your hand doesn't mean you're putting out the fire. You're just spraying that and it's useless because you're not going into those 10 out of 10 panic attacks. You're not going close enough to the fire to be able to put it out. So fear extinguishing is being extremely brave enough to go forward into panic as much as possible to put out the fire. Okay? That's the concept of fear extinguishing. And that's very simplified. You can understand that. How do we put out a fire? Well, we can put it out with a fire extinguisher. But if we're shooting a fire extinguisher from miles away, it ain't even touching the fire. And that's where people go wrong with recovery from anxiety disorders. They think they're doing everything right. But just because you have the tool, which is correct, and you probably had to work hard to find that tool and be strong enough to pick it up, but now you have to do the hard work, and that's the bravery to get close enough to actually put the fire out. And when you consistently spray a fire extinguisher on a fire every single day, and if someone's gone through this for years, that's a big ass fire. So you're going to use a lot of fire extinguishers, not just one. People think, oh, but I went close to that fire today and I did the right thing. All the foam came out of the fire extinguisher. I sprayed it all over the fire. I did the right thing. the fire still exists because it's the big ass fire, and not one fire extinguisher puts it out. So the next day, what's that person do? Oh, well, that was difficult. I don't want to do it again. And they leave it again for another month. The fire rises again. The fire gets bigger. So fear extinguishing, that's the concept of fear extinguishing. You have to be brave enough to get close enough to the fire to be able to put this out. Otherwise, you're basically wasting your time with the exposure therapies and being afraid to go in fully. You have to fully commit to say, whatever fear is going on in your mind, even if it's death, say, okay, bring it on. Kill me if you must. Kill me, come on. Give me the heart attack. Give me the stroke. Give me the seizure. Give me the going crazy and going mad, and give it to me now. Because I am not living my life like that. And that is the mindset that I went through. It's a very vital part of recovery, is that mindset part. I just give up. I don't care anymore. So add that type of mindset in when that will push you towards going towards the fire. The mindset, I don't care anymore. I need to get close enough to this fire to start putting it out. And that's the concept of fear extinguishing. You get that. That's natural. You know for a fact that if there's a fire there and you consistently go towards that fire and spray a fire extinguisher on it, you know that fire will burn out. It will die out. You've put it out with the fire extinguisher. And it's the same with your fears. So if you know for a fact that will happen with the fire, the same thing will happen with your fears. But because the fire is so big, you're going to need a lot of fire extinguishers. But the thing is, you have an unlimited resource of fire extinguishers within you. In your heart, in your body, in your mind, in your soul. You don't run out. It's called willpower. Okay? And we all have it in abundance. But you got to be brave enough to get close enough to the fire to put out your anxiety disorder. Okay? Take it easy, guys. Fear extinguishing. Be brave enough to get close to the fire.